Yo, Pokey26 here, and we have the third version of the PTR patch notes for Warcraft 3. And I did quickly glance over it, see like how much there is, but yeah, we're gonna look over it. It seemed pretty small, just kind of like mostly adjustments to what was already done. Yeah, we shall just begin, get into it, talk about it, maybe talk about the overall patch as well a little bit at the end. Like how things pan out in the master change log. Yeah. Week 3 or version 3 or whatever you want to call it. Improved performance, visuals, world editor, added entangled gold mine to night elf buildings. Okay. I think there was already something for that, but sure. Um, yeah, just small thing. Okay, fixed an issue where orbs were not working properly on ranged units. I'm curious if this mean. I assume this means when the orb hit a ranged unit rather than the orb being used by a ranged hero. But it's interesting. I wonder. I wonder if that was like all orbs in general. Like, is this some bug that's just been in the game forever, or if it was like something new that popped up? I don't know. Anyways, now we'll get to the real content. As you can see, it already shows master change list at the bottom, which means there's not that much stuff here. First things to note, Night Elf changes, and they're actually all buffs for Night Elf. Move speed for Huntresses back up. This is after they were originally brought down. Uh, they brought Huntress move speed down in order to do like the glaive stuff, and then honestly, Hunts didn't particularly see much more use overall. They were kind of just the same. Um, this buff definitely helps a little, but it mostly looks really annoying for Night Elf Mirror. Getting that speed back on hunts makes it much easier to lose your archers. That being said, there's also an archer health buff. So now archers can get to safety more easily because 20 health is actually pretty significant. That's at least one hit, if not 2 hits more from units that they have to take before they actually die. And yeah. This health buff, though, I wonder if this is more to compensate for the fact that archers probably suffer the most from the new change. And the new change is piercing doing 90% to heavy armor instead of 100%. So now that archers are doing less damage to what they're commonly facing early, grunts, ghouls, footmen, they got 20 extra health to compensate. So early game, I think that's fairly even. But I think late game, the archer health buff is actually significant. Especially if it like gets them to survive out of AoE and stuff like that. So this could actually be pretty strong for Night Elf late game if there are archer strategies that Night Elf still employs. That I am unsure of because I feel like you don't see it as much anymore. You mostly just see straight Dryad Bears, maybe MGs, Hippos, Talons to like counter certain things, but otherwise Dryad Bears, right? So we'll see if archers see more play because of it, but yeah, my assumption is that this is mostly to compensate for, like I said, the 90% damage that they're going to be doing to heavy armor, which means archers are going to be creeping slower, but you're mostly reliant on your heroes anyways as Night Elf for creeping. Archers are going to be doing less damage to all these different harasses from footies, from ghouls, from grunts. getting this 20 extra health definitely helps them early game. We'll see how it pans out as the game goes on. Because obviously, when you have other sources of damage later on, and archers can hit targets that are not heavy armor, this is actually pretty relevant. It's possible this should only be like 10 health or something if they're going to buff it, right? Especially if this affects Hippo Rider health. If this affects Hippo Rider health, it's actually really annoying. But I don't know if it does or how that works. Anyways, next one is Moonglave's upgrade time decreased from 60 to 50. Okay. Definitely pretty relevant because that paired with the extra move speed from hunts does make them a lot more viable for sure. Maybe we will see hunts used a little bit more. Maybe we won't even see as many archers even after this buff because people are going to be wanting to do huntresses a little more. I don't know. It'll probably just be the same as always for Night Elf. Although, if anything, this is mostly good for like the Keeper, Huntress, Archer, Alchemist style. So, like, if someone plays Mass Tier 1 with Expos, this could actually be pretty good for that because it's Huntress and Archer buffs. But otherwise, if you're only making limited Tier 1 and just switching off after, I don't think this matters much compared to the fact that you're doing less damage to heavy armor. I think you have to really commit to these to like get a actual benefit. But they're definitely helpful for sure. Definitely makes Elf less susceptible to all the heavy armor units that are going to be rushing against piercing damage. I don't know. It's only 10% less damage from piercing damage, but it's still relevant to some extent. Okay, next thing, Undead. More animate dead fixes. I don't think there's much to talk about this. This is just like the same change reiterated again and fixed or something. Yeah, it's just they get passive abilities, but like you don't see animate dead very often anyways, so whatever. And then the other big change, or like one of the biggest changes, is more panda changes. So we saw initially that they increased damage a little and nerfed AoE a lot, right? And then they added move speed and added a little bit more damage over time with haze fire. But now they are actually reverting the move speed back down. I don't remember if this is fully back down. I think it's fully back down, right? Like it was originally 290. Yeah, it's just reverted. So basically, no more move speed, which is probably fine if they're doing other stuff, and they are doing other stuff. But yeah, they are going to increase the AoE a little. They still want to not have the AoE as big as it was, but they are increasing it back up. So originally it was like 125 to 300. And now then it switched to 25 to 125. And now they're going somewhere in the middle, 60 and 175. I think 60 to 175 is reasonable enough. Like, you know, the 25 to 125 was definitely a bit too small. It would be way too easy to miss stuff and like not hit enough targets for breath to be good enough. But 60 to 175, I think that's actually usable and good. And you still have the other damage things. We can look at the master change list a little, just mostly for the panda. Oh yeah, I was curious to see if the archer. They don't mention anything about Hippo Rider health with this buff. Like if Hippo Riders get an extra 20 health as well, that's actually pretty relevant combined with the dismount cooldown at 5 instead of 30. Huntress is getting these small buffs, but they are losing structure bounces. Okay, anyways. Yeah, the big panda thing. Oh, they even have it crossed out here. That's cool. I feel like they don't usually do that. The panda thing. So we are getting decent damage upgrades, particularly on level 1 and max level, are both pretty relevant. 15 extra damage, 10 extra damage. Max damage increased a little on lower levels in particular. But I don't know if that matters, like if you'll even hit enough targets for that. And then where's the, oh yeah, here's the damage over time part. The damage over time also pretty relevant on level 1 and max level, like level 5 panda, level 3 breath. The thing is, your level 2 breath when you're level 3 panda is not actually buffed that much. You get 5 extra damage and 1 damage per second over time from haze fire, which is quite small compared to all the AoE lost. But the other levels are actually pretty relevant. Like panda will be a little bit more relevant right away on level 1, and potentially has a higher salient than when max level, as long as the AoE is not hindering enough. And as you can see, I think this AoE is starting to get reasonable enough. Like 60 to 175 definitely feels a lot better than the 25 to 125. So it's possible panda's actually still pretty good off of this. The AoE is definitely still smaller, but I think it's large enough to make use of this extra damage. So while panda will feel a bit different, you will probably miss breaths sometimes because you'll expect the breath to be a bigger AoE than it actually is. When you are hitting those breaths, they're probably going to feel very nice. So, you know, and they might be pretty good versus structures, right? Like the AoE, usually you're aiming at only a couple towers or something, like a couple ziggurats or a couple human towers, and it's not too hard for your AoE to be enough to hit those, right? Because the towers are stationary. You know, it's easy to target them. So you might be able to siege a bit better with this, with the slightly higher damage per breath, or even harass when you first get the panda level 1 and he has 15 extra damage, right? But yeah, I think panda might actually be pretty solid with how this is changing. That being said, I don't know if it's even worth changing. Like they could just scrap this and it wouldn't really matter, right? So I'm curious what their goal is with changing this. Do they just want panda to be more how to put it, skill shot based by having a smaller AoE? You can't just like toss the breath out and it hits everything on screen. You have to actually aim it though. Like what's their goal here? Is there a matchup in particular that they're wanting this against? Are they wanting it to have less coverage so that it hits less air units if air is flying around everywhere? Or do they think it's just too easy to hit everything, so they'd rather make it more difficult but have higher damage to compensate? I'm curious what their goal was, but I do think, and with this AoE changed back so it's like some sort of middle ground, I think panda might be pretty decent now. Yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much it, other than, you know, looking at the old notes again. You did get the move speed cut, but I think that the AoE being back up a little bit is the most relevant here. Still smaller than before, but it's okay. Yeah. Then I wanted to point out one more time. Where is it? General. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is why I feel like this archer health buff is mostly because of this line, right? To compensate for the fact that the other races are, they have access to grunt, ghoul, footman right away, which also means their creeping speed is better because there are half the creeps have heavy armor, and now archers will do less to them. So I assume that's why the archers got this, but I'm not positive. Anyways, overall, I do actually like version 2, like the previous version was a bit questionable because this just kind of got tossed in out of nowhere. But I do like that they're trying to still keep this and fix other things around it by, or at least I assume this is trying to fix other things around it by switching like the archer health. That being said, creep speed in general is going to be different, right? Like all the timings might be different if piercing damage is doing less damage here. I don't know. We'll see how it works, but this is the type of change that you really need to see in play to fully grasp. Yeah, that seems like it'll be it for this patch's changes. You can, you know, look over them yourself if you want to look over them again, but these were the new ones and kind of just discussed them already. So that'll be it.